Good
Okay,
evening, everybody, and welcome to the unfortunately final session of a webinar series on formalization as a pathway to SME growth and economic resilience. Today, we're going to take a closer look on Somalia and gradual pathways to formalization with a special focus on women entrepreneurs. My name is Mijin Busse from Esquire Technology Center. And before we start, I have just a few logistical comments. So we're going to conduct this session for the first time in English. I know this webinar series is actually in Arabic, but considering that Somalia is a multilingual country, we're going to do this in English. And I've already seen the first questions on the chat, which is amazing. Yes, the session is recorded. I'm going to send you the recording afterwards to the email that you have used to sign up for the session. You might have already noticed that your microphones are disabled. This is intentional. So if you have any comments, questions, remarks, anything of that sort, just please use the chat. We're going to hear at first in about 30-minute intervention by Ms. Shaila Khan, and then afterwards we have time for all your questions and we can hopefully answer them all. I see another question already about certificates of participation. Unfortunately, we don't issue certificates of participation in webinar series, but I hope you can all enjoy this session anyway. And I already see some people using the chat to introduce themselves. Please also feel free to do this to connect to each other if you wish to do so. Now, I'm very happy to introduce Ms. Shaila Khan as our speaker today. She is a senior international development professional with 3 decades of experience across the United Nations system, having served with UNICEF, UNV, and UNDP. She holds an MBA in finance and has built a distinguished career leading programs in finance, local governance, poverty reduction, policy and communications, business development, as well as results-based management. And her professional experience spans Afghanistan, Uganda, the UNDP Bangkok Regional Hub, and also Somalia, where she has successfully led strategic initiatives in complex and fragile environments. And she currently serves as team lead for economic recovery and institutional development with UNDP Somalia in Mogadishu, and provides strategic leadership to programs that strengthen institutions, promote inclusive economic growth, and foster sustainable development through innovation partnerships and results-driven approaches. The floor is all yours, Ms. Shaila, and I hope everybody enjoys today's session.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you have joined this webinar. First and foremost, I must say thank you very much to Esquire colleagues for having me as a guest speaker. It is an honor and a privilege to share a bit of experience, my long journey in this development field. With that, I really would also would say that, let us embark on a journey to Somalia. Let's feel that you guys are with me in Somalia. It's a nation where entrepreneurship is woven into its DNA, I must say. That's my revelation of 2.5 years. Powered by a very vibrant and really resilient young population, with nearly about 70% of its people under the age of 30. And they really represent, if you ask me, to make a new nation. And this is where the SME comes into play. My presentation indeed will follow about women-led businesses, but I also want to say that my colleagues who would be jumping in at some point in time, that it's regardless of men and women, especially when it comes to SMEs and MSMEs development, because that's really very important. And it's a thriving nation where you would see the private sector is indeed the engine for growth. So as you can see my slides, this is what I was mentioning about women-led business. Just to give you some facts and figures about the context, you can see that it is basically, again, when we talk about women in particular, it is almost 46% or a little over that, you would see that women are leading the SMEs, or, they're being the entrepreneurs. And why does it matter for Somalia's growth? And this is what it is. You can see that I want to just talk about the highest figure, which is like the estimated about 76% share of jobs from entrepreneurial activities. And this is where, after my presentation, my colleague will jump in to show that what exactly we mean that, scaling up when it comes to job opportunities. The women entrepreneurs form, of course, the women play a very critical role in Somalia when it comes to entrepreneurial ecosystems, particularly informal and micro enterprises, while women represent a majority of household business owners, and that is approximately 57%. So half of the population, honestly, a little over half of the population. And their ownership of formal SMEs remains limited. So while there is great opportunity, there are limitations. And that too, if you look into that, women comprising around only between 7 to 10% majority owned formal firms. Rest are basically informals. So when it comes to need and support.
Sorry to interrupt. In case you wanted to show us other slides, we still only see the starting slide.
Yeah. Now this.
Okay,
Can you
okay.
the second slide, that why women led context, or I'm still with the first slide?
The first slide, the cover page.
Oh. Abdel Hamid. Abdel Hamid? Because apologies. I don't know, it's showing here as a next slide. Can you see now?
Now we can see the page context.
Yes. Okay. So this
Great,
is
thank you.
Okay. It's okay. I have to click that. All right, thanks. So in fact, I was referring to these slides where the data that I was talking about, that 76%, you can see that estimated share of jobs that is generated from these entrepreneurial activities. And you can imagine that the potential for growth. I have said what I had to say. I don't want to delve again or repeat. And of course, after this conversation, we would like to hear from you more question and answers. Then if we talk about that, what are the key barriers? While I have mentioned that there is a huge potential, but I have also mentioned that it is the formal, the engagement of SMEs is very still, it's only 7 to 10%. And that's where there are key barriers for that. So what is those barriers are basically limited to access to financial collaterals. And I don't think so it is just Somalia, so to speak. In most of the developing countries, least developing countries, access to finance. And of course, it is, since if they don't have the collateral, that's a huge barrier. Then, of course, low access to markets and value chains. Weak business development and management skills, informality and limited regulatory support, and limited access to assets, networks, and decision-making platforms. So these are basically limiting the growth, if you want to say, for the SMEs in Somalia, particularly women. Because of all of that, they're still way behind even with the male SME colleagues, because there are different angles to that for accessibility, trust, confidence that they can really do. Now, the pathways to strengthen women-owned SMEs in Somalia, some of the strategic interventions that we are looking at, that how can we improve, because any barriers or challenges, that's an opportunity or that's an area of intervention that we look into, that how we can improve access to finance, how then we can improve the business development services or strengthen so that they have better access, they are competent enough, they grow their professionalism, how we can connect, like promote market access, how we can support to do some value chains. I must also say that it is a country where agriculture, livestock and fisheries, livestock alone, it is about more than 43%. And if I combine the agriculture and livestock fisheries, that's basically the productive sectors. It's about 70 to 80% that it is contributing to the GDP. Another very interesting area to, I would say, with a pleasant surprise, it's a very tech-savvy nation. And yet it is important that to introduce as a matter of intervention, to focus on the digital transformation with the national transformative plan that Somalia has from the government side. Digital transformation is a cross-cutting factor. It is being used, digital payments and everything is being done in Somalia, but it is still, I would say, not enough, not adequate. So there is a lot of opportunities that we are focusing on the e-commerce platform, digital skills, business development tools related to digitization their businesses. And what is very important, although you would say that, it is coming towards end, the policy and regulatory reform, it does really, I would say, remains at the center stage. We need to focus, and this is what we are focusing with different ministries, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce, Chambers of Commerce, to focus on this regulatory reform and policies, because when it comes to SMEs, so to speak, there is not really a regulatory framework in Somalia, and that really looks into, we need to focus on. Last but not the least, we are talking about partnerships and ecosystem development. And this is where you would see that, we are looking into this whole, there is huge gap given the fact of SMEs, given the fact of thriving private sector. There is no platform whereby they can all discuss that what are the issues and what needs to be done and so on and so forth. So this is where the public-private partnerships that we are looking into, we are already established one and having, discussed their issues so that we can support when it comes to policy and regulatory framework. So that's where the pathways that we are looking into for, of course, integrated intervention for inclusive SME growth. And when I mentioned about access to finance, what exactly the number of things that we are looking into, we are looking into ways and means that, okay, what would be and where they should be having access to finance. And that's where we are looking into different local financing institutions. We are looking into, and I must say that it's a Sharia compliant country, so that they are looking into the financial tools, which is more to do with Islamic financing instruments. So we are really focusing into that how we can robustly talk about this Islamic financing tools. And of course, you have commercial banks, but that is also Sharia compliant. We are looking into seeds, grants, and startup capital, because you have like small SMEs, so that at least they can have access to finance between 20, 30, or even lower. When it comes to lower, it's very difficult to get loans from the commercial banks or any IFI, so to speak. And this is where we need to support them, and we are working on it. And my colleague will very soon talk about that, how does this whole seed capital or seed grants work to startup capitals supporting the SMEs. The promotion of mobile money and digital finance solution. This is again, as I mentioned, this is with one of the private sector, which my colleague will very quickly, 1 or 2 minutes, he will mention that this is quite deliberately, since they are working on this mobile money thing, but the literacy, the digital literacy is required in order to further strengthen their skills. And of course, when we talk about finance, access to finance, it is important for them to have a financial literacy and business planning support, so that they really they know where to and how to take their businesses forward. And of course, combining finance and trainings and mentorship improves outcomes, as we know, and this is all part of our whole ecosystem that we have looked at, that the mentorship and innovation grants that they can really get into. Then, as I think I have mentioned some of them, that this is part of the business development services that we are focusing on, that how the entrepreneurs can improve their business management and incubation and acceleration program. And this is very interesting that we are going to do with Hormuz, which is a private sector. And I must also say it's a win-win situation. The Hormuz private sector, it is also, they have Salam Bank. So they are also happy to see that they can make their clients ready when they will access to finance to the banking, to Salam Bank. And of course, it is backed up by different kind of marketing skills and so on and so forth. And what is very important, to make them believe that they can do. And that is what the mentorship and coaching support, that it is going to cut across all through. And of course, one of the interesting thing, as I mentioned, that it's great and everything, but the point is, when it comes to registration of formalization of SMEs, the figure is very, very low. It is like 5 to 7%. So something that for them to get the best benefit, for them to get the recognition, for them to have different access to not just the loan per se, but even market, their business needs to be registered. So that's our endeavor, that when we say support for business registration and compliance. I think I have mentioned about market access, and as UNDP, as we say that, connecting the dots. And that's where we need different actors, different agencies to do this value chain for private sector, how we can connect them to different trade fairs, exhibitions. That's primarily how they can have access to market. And in today's day and age, that's why digital transformation, digital is very, very important, that how they can capitalize on digital marketing and the e-commerce support that they can really support, so that they don't have to really go anywhere or have a kiosk, but they can use this platform and have trading done. We are looking into this cooperatives for collective bargaining. I have talked about in the next slide about the cooperatives that we are very much focusing on, because individual SMEs, it's very difficult, but if they're together, form cooperatives, they would have a better capital, where that capital can really be acting as their collaterals. So indeed that. And secondly, it is very important to note that that's one of the de-risking of the resources or the loans that they will get as a capital to the capital that they will receive. So the whole thing is how the de-risking, these cooperatives can really be part of the de-risking factor also. We are looking into, as you can see, the areas for that cooperatives. It is important to form and to have a governance of those cooperatives that we are supporting. We are looking into, of course, this capacity building, and I mentioned about the governance management, and of course, collective purchasing of inputs and equipment. So as I mentioned, it is Sharia compliant, this murhaba, as they say. So how they can all take risk for buying an equipment so that, you know, they can able to produce more rather than just one single SME, so to speak. The other thing that what is very important that we are looking into is this integrated led approach. And this is where the local economic development, but in a very integrated manner, to look into whole of government and whole of society approach. As you all know, that the context of Somalia is conflict and fragile. I must say that it is not much happening so far, touch wood, but nonetheless, it is volatile situation. So it is important to look into this social cohesiveness, to have a better social contract so that they among themselves have a strong bond, a cohesiveness, so that not just in business, in social and cultural or problems, they are together. So that's the underlining thing, but that's where the integrated local economic approach that we are looking into, that, you know, the skills development, entrepreneurship, all of that I've said. But what is very important here is the holistic approach to informal to formal transition. And PPP we know, but we are focusing on the PPCP. The C is the community partnership. This is what is all about, this from the integrated, from cooperative, all of that we are focusing on more. And I would say that we have talked about a lot of, I think I missed one slide, which is the challenges, but I think I have already talked a lot of challenges. Now, the opportunities and way forward, as a matter of strategic priorities that we are looking into, there's some of the things I have already mentioned. I don't want to repeat that. How best they can have, what is key here is basically affordable finance and guarantee schemes. So this is where it comes, the cooperatives, at the same time credit guarantee schemes, because how the partners, you know, whether it is private sector, whether it is UNDP, along with other UN agencies, that we can look into the first loss capital, so that, you know, we need to support them and support if the first year there is some loss, who would look into it. And we are in negotiation with some of the commercial bank, that how we can partner for this first loss capital. That's an important thing for just to mention, because most of the things I have talked about. Now, what are the key takeaway from our experience? One is women empowerment requires integrated support beyond finance. And I have mentioned that beyond finance is the strengthen the social contract. Combine finance, skills, markets, and policy support. I have mentioned that we can be overtly ambitious, overwhelmed, but the fact of the matter is, it is important to look into this whole regulatory and policy frameworks. That's something that we are focusing on. Without that, we can perhaps go a little more. It will remain localized, but it cannot be mainstreamed. Coordinated ecosystem approach drives sustainability. So we are trying to go very systematically to see that, what is the ecosystem, what are the driving force, and most importantly, that what are the factors which would drive sustainability. And last but not the least, that leads to, of course, resilient, formal, growth-oriented enterprises. So this is before we get into the question and answer. I would request Abdirazak to really come and speak about that, how we are supporting and could make a difference when it comes to vulnerable communities, because it is important, as you all may know, that there is like internal displacement people here. At the same time, we are supporting for their livelihoods. It's very interesting case. Many of you may know that there are number of IDP camps out there. So we are trying to make both the host community and the IDPs together on these SMEs too. So with that, Abdirazak, if you could just come for 2 minutes with your slides, or you can, whichever is better, but to let this August invitees of this webinar to say that how we are working on these cooperatives and how we are addressing the vulnerable communities, focusing on SMEs. Over to you, Abdirazak.
Thank you, Shaila. Thank you, the team. I am Abdirazak Umar, and it is my pleasure to join today. I would like to thank you, the organizers, for inviting me to participate this webinar. Before anything, I wanted to share my screen to give you 2 examples how UNDP Somalia support is for vulnerable and IDPs community in Somalia. So please confirm to me if you can see my screen.
Not yet. We cannot see it yet.
Okay, let me share again. It is saying to me, all this is disabled attendee screen sharing. So I think it's not possible. It is.
Wait. Joelle, can you make him a co-host, please? Because you're the host now.
Okay. But it's still, for me, it is counting me as attendee, not as a host.
Yeah. Joelle, are you with us?
I am with Shaila. So.
Okay, so she's not. No, I'm talking to my colleague Joelle, who is the host of this meeting. But it seems she's not here at the moment.
For now, I can access. For now, I can access. Okay.
Okay, great. Yes, now we can see the screen.
Yeah. So I will go quickly. I think Shaila explained a lot, including into the businesses, how UNDP support this. But for me, I will quickly go to the area that we work, for example, into strengthening the private sector. On this area, we established a unit called Enterprise Development Unit. On that unit, we aimed to provide into the capacity development for businesses to provide a technical and financial and technical and soft skills, like including business development, planning, accounting, marketing, digitalization, all that things. Another thing that in UNDP Somalia work is to address the challenge of lack of access. So we set up a credit facility mechanism.
Sorry to interrupt.
Are you sharing your slides, or you're just saying? Because we cannot see your slides, my dear.
Can you see my screen?
No, we can't see it anymore.
Oh,
Give us a minute. We are working on that. Yeah.
Yes, now we can see the screen.
how is now?
It's gone again.
No, it's gone again.
Okay.
Or Abdulrazak, you can share it with me. I think I have them. Let me try to share from my screen if that helps, unless Abdul Hamid could sort that out. Let me see if I can do that for you.
Okay. Please share, so then I will present. Can you see now?
It was there for a second and then it's gone again.
Oh, so
Just
the
leave
challenge
it. Let me share, huh? Let me share.
Thank you, Shayla. For me today, I will share some practical examples how UNDP Somalia country offices support small, medium enterprises and the vulnerable communities, with highlighting how these initiatives improved the lives of the people, created jobs, strengthened livelihoods, promote entrepreneurship, and improve economic opportunity for people who are often the most affected by poverty, displacement, and climate change. One of our projects is in Somalia. We supported into the 150 women with starting to provide into the business entrepreneurship trainings. Then when is we providing into the business entrepreneurship training is based on to their interest. We formed them as a fee SLA groups, and we managed to make a 10 fee SLA groups, with each group consists of around 10 to 15 members. Then the formed groups we provided to the business startups. That's the way we handle it. And then for now, around 95% of that business is functioning, and we continue to provide into the mentorships, business development. So then for now they're able to provide into the to improve their livelihoods and get into the income source of their families. The second thing in our project is supported is to the cooperatives. Sometimes it is a challenge to support people, and vulnerable people is. But for now, one way which we supported for them is to establish into the cooperatives. So our project is targeted 150 webinars. On that 150 webinars, first of all, we provided into the business entrepreneurship trainings based into their cooperatives area scope of work. And then we formed for example, for the first one, we formed a 3 dairy cooperatives, which consist of each of cooperatives for 25 members. And then each cooperatives we provide into the 8 solar powered refrigerators units, and also hygiene kits. This kind of productive assets support is improved to the milk handling, storages, hygiene, and reducing to the spoilages. And also it improved the quality of dairy products, and maybe some of them before it was challenging to them for the storage of the dairy. But for now, they're able to, like the picture showing to you, they're using the refrigerators to keep it for a long time for their milk. So they able to improve the quality of their dairy, and anytime they can sell. The second thing we provided to provide support is to the women land agriculture cooperatives. This one we targeted into the 75 women. On this one, first of all, we provide into the capacity development and entrepreneurship is related to their businesses. And then we provide into the productive assets, including, for example, including into the 2 grain value addition. One was a 2 grain value addition cooperatives, and one was a sesame oil cooperatives. So then for the cooperatives of grain value addition, we provide into the 3 grain milling machines, and the other we provide into the 2 oil greening machines. This is resulted to increase the processing of grains and sesame into high value productive. For example, before they told us that they use it to buy into the raw materials or the yields of the or products, but for now they're able to process and add value of their products and to get into the higher value than previous times. So also they able to improve it processing efficiencies, product quality, and a value added. For example, before it was unable to store on their products, but for now they want to make storage for their products. And finally, we link them into the traders, sesame buyers, and financial service providers. And this is helping them to add a value for their products. That's 2 examples what we did into the Somalia projects here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdirazak. This is what I mentioned about the cooperatives. We talked about this, these capital grant startups, and this is just a few examples to say that, this is how we are doing. Now, 2 minutes, I would request Abdulhamid, if you could very quickly say that regardless of just women SMEs, how we are engaging the youth and the SMEs, both men and women, when it comes to digital literacy and this initiative, and also mentorships, the incubation that I have mentioned with the private sector. So over to you, Abdulhamid, for your 2 minutes interjection. Over.
Thank you, Shaila. Welcome, everyone. Very quickly, we will go to an overview of the main private sector intervention that we have now and how it's related to the topic of today. So basically, we recently have a partnership with Hormuz Salam Foundation on accelerating socioeconomic development in Somalia by enhancing business environment, youth employability, and digitalization. Basically, the objectives of the project, as you can see, the main thing that we have is when we improve the business environment of in different communities of Somalia, we emphasize on women-led businesses, and we have a specific objective on empowering women entrepreneurs with offering tailored support for women-led businesses. And this will help them to overcome the challenges and sustain their growth, as Shaila mentioned in her slides. In the outputs of the project, we are focusing on 50% of women participation. This is related to youth employability and other job creation initiatives. Also, as I mentioned, 40% or 50% to 40% range of focusing on women-led businesses. Oh, okay. So this is for the objectives, as you can see, and a specific one for women entrepreneurs. This is the outputs with 50% women participation and 50 women businesses. And as we can see here, the whole project is have different aspects, as we mentioned: business employability, digitalization, and green and blue economy. With different things that we mentioned through all the webinar, we have the women socioeconomic empowerment in as a cross cutting edge for all these pillars, and it's very important with designing specific metrics and KPIs for every intervention that we have on what's achieved or what's the result related to women empowerment. Regarding this project as well, finally, the whole idea of public-private community partnerships, and you can see that it's not just private partnership, private sector partnership, but in the end of the day, we are talking about civil, private civil partnerships, civil society, and public civil partnerships. And this will not happen without integrating minorities, women aspect, and gender sensitive lens of doing the things. And that's bring us to how UNDP sees those interventions in kind of implementation. And referring to Shaila's presentation before, what we can see that we are focusing to empower women-led SMEs, and this is through different pillars, as we mentioned previously, by improving access to finance and strengthening business capability, expanding market opportunities, promoting digital inclusion, supporting gender responsive policies, and building partnerships through enabling women entrepreneurs to start and grow and sustain. Grow and sustain is even more important than starting, because this is one of the problems and challenges that we have. And as we can see in this table, reflecting to the table that Shaila mentioned in her slides before, that when we talk about improving access to finance, that means we are talking about more gender responsive financing for women entrepreneurs. And we understand that a women entrepreneur has totally different challenges, or more specific or more comprehensive challenges more than men entrepreneurs. And when we talk about financial literacy, investment readiness, and business planning capacities, this is also should be designed and tailored for women specifically in different interventions. And what we do as well is when we have our incubation program through the project with Hormuz Salam Foundation or other projects as well, we'll try our best to have a tailored training for women entrepreneurs, not just the normal one, because you will need more enabling, you will need more empowerment pillars related to those trainings. And of course, you need to put the culture of women business leadership, innovation, and enterprise growth capacities. Which is happening in Somalia already, but it's not documented in a way that has a strategic kind of policies. Promote market access, as Shaila mentioned. This is more related linking to local and regional markets, and of course, having women participation in those trade fairs, exhibition, and business networking events. This is what we are trying to do now. There is many success stories, and we want to showcase them regionally and locally and globally as well. The digital transformation, the digital literacy is everything today. We need to teach them the basics, the digital skills, how to make e-commerce, how to make digital marketing. This is an essential point for them to do the trainings today. And of course, for the policies, Shaila mentioned a lot of things related to that we are working on through financing, blended financing, and the framework as well of the country, all this kind of interventions that we are working for specific women-led businesses or SMEs. And finally, partnerships. And we talk to different key stakeholders like the ministries and Chamber of Commerce and other networks and governmental counterparts to also make sure and focus into having specific women tracks related to the registration, related to taxes, related to monitoring and KPIs as well, to reflect the country progress, even related to SDGs and other national priorities that they are doing. With that, thank you very much, and over back to Shaila and Menjid.
Thank you very much. I think it has been a little bit over time than we expected. This is complex, interesting, and just one comment, couldn't agree more. And that is where we are looking into that, how we can make these SMEs formal. Because the informal GDP contribution is higher than the formal. And that's where we are thriving for. It is easier said than done, but indeed, for a 1,000-mile journey, the one step is very important. So that's what we are doing. Over to you, Min. Thank you very much for patience.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shaila. Thank you, Abdulrazak. Thank you, Abdulhamid, for your interventions. It was indeed very interesting, and I hope everybody could benefit a lot from them. Now, now's the time for any questions. If you have any questions, any remarks, please post them in the chat. We already have one question and one comment. I'm going to read out the question first, and then we can take a look at the comment. The question is there any support for exporting livestock or agri-products by Hamoud or UNDP?
Well, this is something that we are looking into, but livestock export is happening. As I mentioned, that livestock, the export in particular, is one of the factor that they are doing, which is contributing to the economy. So, but if you say if UNDP is looking into, not yet, we would like to see how we can add value to the livestock, not just the whole livestock export. How about the different supply chain, a slaughterhouse, sanitary system, so that they can really add value to their livestock. So that's what it is very much in discussion with the Ministry of Commerce, that we are looking into different private sectors, that how we can co-finance for this initiative.
Thank you so much. Now I see we got another question, which is kind of related to the comments. I'm going to just read out the quite long comment that we have in the chat. So the reader or the writer comments that one point that particularly stood out is that formalization should be viewed as a value proposition rather than merely a regulatory requirement, and entrepreneurs are far more likely to register their businesses when formalization delivers clear and tangible benefits, such as improved access to finance, eligibility for government procurement opportunities, business advisory and capacity building services, and access to digital marketplaces. Framing formalization in terms of these practical advantages can significantly encourage greater participation in the formal economy. And I believe that digital transformation could play a much bigger role in accelerating SME formalization if registration, taxation, financing, mentoring, and market access were integrated into a single digital platform. The process would become much more attractive, especially for young entrepreneurs and women-led businesses. That was quite a long comment. And we have a question from another participant, which goes into the same direction. He asks specifically about the incentives that could encourage an SME in Somalia to formalize its business. Perhaps you would like to comment or answer both together.
No, thank you very much. It's a very insightful comment. And I think your comment is something that absolutely spot on. And as I said, it is easier said than done, given the context itself. I couldn't agree more that the formalization, and I think I was referring when I was making the presentation, that given the fact the formal SMEs is between 7 to 10%, but this cannot be, we are not at all complacent, and we are discussing this with the government, that what would be the KPIs for making these SMEs formalized. So we are looking into it, but it is not the primary, it is primary factor, but we need to at the same time do the readiness for these SMEs to have the registration. And this is where the KPIs come into play. But absolutely, you're spot on. This is what we are looking into. And I think that, this whole digital platform and digitization, as I have mentioned, that is also where my colleague mentioned that what we are going to do. By the way, we did not mention here, but we are working with the Ministry of Communication and Technology to looking into this whole digital readiness assessment that UNDP has done. Because when we talk about digitization, digital platform, we have to look into the whole ecosystem. So these are like, I would say the how we are weaving different factors which contribute when we talk about digitization, having enabling all environments, so and so forth. So with the ministry, we are looking into, we have done this digital readiness assessment. Now the next step is, how the government can really take some of the recommendations which came about from the digital readiness. And of course, this whole, when we talk about this ecosystem, every actors are very much involved, and we are focusing on that. I think this is what the long comment, but it's spot on, something it's really, really insightful. We will take into account that, if it resonates with what we are doing. The other part, what was is it the comment, Minjin, or I have left?
It wasn't the Q&A. It was about the incentives that could encourage an SME in Somalia to formalize its business.
Yeah, well, this is again a very good point. This is where, the technical supports come to the SMEs, and that is one of the incentive, if you want to say. A is in monetary terms. This is the capital seed grant that my colleague was mentioning. It's small and how they can grow. The other incentive for their professionalism, that, skills development and all of that, where they don't have to buy for developing the skills. This is going as a technical assistance from UNDP along with different partners, that, how we can develop their skills, business development skills, marketing skills, management, governance skills. So this is coming as an incentive to the SMEs.
Thank you. Next question is, do you support all regions in Somalia or only IDPs in Mogadishu?
Well, no, this is all region, but we have to, as I said, that accessibility is indeed an issue. So we have different federal member states. The IDP that you have seen, this is also like number of member states, federal member states. Bosaso, you may have noticed, which is more on the north. We are working on different FMSs in the southwest also. So it is actually number of regions that we are looking into. But we are, as I have mentioned, it's not that we have all have access to all the districts or regions. So that's another barrier itself. So we are both looking the host community where we have access and where the IDP camps are. And I want to mention that, as you all know, UNDP is not an humanitarian organization that we can focus only on IDPs. In fact, not really. We are focusing, that's why, more with the host community SMEs, along with the IDPs. What we also, you may know about the durable solutions pathways action plan the Somalia has, where it is about how we can have a integration or integration of the IDPs with the host community. And we have other partners like IOM with us. We have UN Habitat, UNICEF, a number of areas where we work together to see how we can complement each other's work in different regions to address IDPs and the host communities. I hope I could answer.
Thank you. What do you see as the biggest challenge in implementing the PPCP model in Somalia, and what practical actions should each partner take to make it successful?
I could respond, but maybe Abdelhamid, if you want to come and explain about the challenges. Of course, as I said, for us, it is going to be like, access to different region is important. To bringing community together is also kind of a challenge. But let me give it to Abdelhamid to say very quickly the challenges, and of course followed by the mitigation. Over to you, Abdelhamid.
Okay. So in the webinar, we mentioned the challenges, and I mentioned a couple of interventions that we are doing. but specifically, we are talking about the project, or we are talking about challenge and
Well, the
implementation?
question
Oh, okay.
is, what
Yeah.
is the biggest challenge in implementing the PPCP model in Somalia, and what
Okay.
practical actions should each partner take to make it successful?
Okay, I found. Okay. So basically, it's not a normal or a common model, first of all. And of course, it has its own challenges in other contexts or other countries. But here we have even further aspects related to security and other unsustainable condition of the context in Somalia as well. So the biggest challenge here is to make sure that government counterparts and local NGOs or civil community or civil and communities work together into having something concrete. And this is, of course, on a federal level, it's very hard to implement. So you can do it in small communities because it's kind of manageable or controlled with having not big community. But in a federal level, it becomes difficult a little bit because you will have many stakeholders around involved, and they should approve, involve, and inform and monitor all of this kind of things. So working together as all key stakeholders in this model will be difficult in terms of having quick progress, if we say. But it will take time, of course, and it will take some incentives from different parties as well. And the most important element here is to make sure that we agree on the plan itself, like what we want to achieve. So there is short-term objectives or purposes or wins, and there is medium, and there is long-term. So this is very important, and to align with the different things and even the national priorities within the country. So that will be the biggest challenges, but of course we can take it in another time for more details. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just
Thank you.
compliment Abdul Hamid. As I said, it is all easier said than done. This is a new concept that we are going to really introduce, this PPCP. We haven't tested out yet. We are still piloting to go to scale. The thing is, as I mentioned and Abdul Hamid mentioned, the reason that why do we want to do this? Is it is important for stronger social contract, cohesiveness. It's important. It's a bit fragmented community. How can we have one vision, one goal for, for greater good? So that's the motivation factor that we want to pitch to the community. At the same time, not to feel that, I'm marginalized. No, you are an owner, you're a partner. So coming from that background, saying that, we are happy to give you and I'm happy to take. No, you have to take accountability, responsibility, and you're an owner. So this is trying to bring at par this thinking shift of thinking that it is not just we are obliged or you feel great that we are giving. No, it's a matter of right, and it is going to be a matter of right. So this is a lot of behavioral change aspect when we talk about this PPCP. An incentive, how it is going to be, of course, it's going to be difficult because we are looking into having different partners to understand what these partnerships would look like. What would be the rate of return, working capital, so different kind of aspects of partnerships. So it would be interesting when once we really kickstart the whole process. Over.
Thank you. What is the impact of competition on the entry of new players into the market, especially for small and not so competitive businesses?
What is you mean the challenge for new entrants?
I understand it that new players, like new businesses, come into the market, and what does it mean? Like this increased competition, what does it mean for small businesses? So this is how I understood this question. If I understood it
No, I mean,
wrong.
it's a great question. It's a great question, I must say. Let us actually own this question, because the underlying factor of this question is indeed important, is the competitiveness, how difficult it is for compete. Indeed, it is a very looking at that which sector that we would like to talk about. And competition has to be, I mean, one of the KPI of competition that how I see is growth. So there is competition, and this is where, like, the different SMEs, MSMEs that we are working with, that how can we support, and then you compete. It is important, because if there is no competition, it is very difficult. There is competition in different sectors, but if you really ask me, we haven't really seen that, and we would like to see that there is competition. They're fighting with each other to get loans or grants, on so to speak. So that's why I was talking about this PPCP, that people got to also see that how they can take ownership. So there is competition. We need to see that, what exactly the competition is on or over. And then we will have to tackle. So far, I'll be very candid, we haven't seen that people are really running on each other's to say that, how we can really look into. I see a hand of UNDP Somalia, I guess.
That's me, yes.
Okay, please.
If I can add to this, Shaila, it's actually the whole idea of the PPCP is to have new players to the market. So there is the common and the business as usual companies or private sector available, or big enterprises. What we need to enhance or improve or boost here in Somalia is to have the MSMEs engine working, and that means we need more competitors. That means we need to enter to create more opportunities for SMEs to have, and this will create even more competition, because in the end of the day, the competition has different scales. It's not you cannot compare competition between micro business and like medium business, because this is totally different level, and that's why in different levels there is gaps available, and value chain. We keep saying value chain. Why we are talking about value chain? Because there is untapped chains in Somalia, a lot of untapped chains that and opportunities, and that's why we are talking about value chain, because we don't want you to compete what is available, but we want to create more opportunities to cover those value chain, and people may think vertically and about it as opportunities, but in the same time, we didn't even close the horizontal landscape in different levels. So that's why we are talking about value chain, and that's why competition is very healthy now, and that's why we are making sure that we support and enable small businesses and the new players, as you mentioned, to be part of the equation. Thank you.
There was a question I think we did not respond from Yusuf, that is PPCP model open to collaboration with other financial institutions, or it is exclusive to Hormuth Group ecosystem? Absolutely not. It is very much open. Whoever would come and would like to join, we will be open for collaboration. So Hormuth, we are saying, because we have initiated this program, perhaps we will be doing that, but just to say that yes, we are open.
Great. Thank you. We're already over the time, but we still have a couple of questions left. I would like to go through them all, and let's just see. We might extend like another 5 minutes so we can answer them. Next one is about the presentations. Could you share them with the audience?
Absolutely. What I could do is, would it be okay if we share with you and those
Yes,
of,
please.
yeah, so that's, I wrote
I would,
comments. I will be sharing with Mijin Boshe, and she can circulate along with the recordings of this deliberation.
yes, thank you so much. Then there is one participant who runs a small home-based business producing traditional natural food products, but it's only her and her husband who work in that business. Does it qualify as an SME? And what is the simplest way to register it officially?
That's again a great question. Well, we need to know a little bit more more detail of it. Doesn't matter if it is just you and your husband, what exactly the different income level, what you are into. When it comes to how you can get this registration, this is what we are really working on, that, what are the minimum, KPIs for any of the SMEs that who could get registration. And of course, when we talk about the small and medium enterprise, the license thing would really be matter. And there are a number of set of indicators that we have to see whether it meets with your profile. But are you in Somalia or you're elsewhere? Because every different country or context is different. If you are in Somalia, we will be happy to get in touch, or you can reach out. Abdul Hamid is there, Abdi Razak is there, my two colleagues. We can, if not anything, can have a conversation and see that how best we can help you.
Okay, so the lady just posted in the chat, she's not from Somalia, she is from Lebanon.
Okay, so that's interesting. We have to do a little bit of research that, what is happening with Lebanon and what are the rules of the game so that, how you can really have access. So, but we have to then do a little bit of research, but you may take note of it if you are going to be connected with Rania, right? Rania and her husband, that how best, or one of the thing is could connect with our Lebanon country office, because I'm sure that they're looking into this whole issue of SMEs and MSMEs perhaps. That could be one way. But as I said, getting registered, it is not like, one size fits all. So different countries have different set of criteria for them to get registered.
Thank you so much. Those were all the questions, and it was very informative, very interesting. Thanks a lot, Shayla, and the whole UNDP team. As mentioned, I'm going to share the recording together with the presentations used in this session. This was unfortunately our last session, but I posted earlier in the chat all our social media channels. So in case you found this interesting, just follow us. We will be doing more webinar sessions on different topics, focusing on different countries, but we generally work all over the Arab region. So if you are an entrepreneur in an Arab country or just interested in entrepreneurship in the Arab region, just follow us, stay tuned, and hope to see you again in our next webinar series.